button is pushed in, the microphone is off. If it's pushed out, it's on.
Okay. Is that better? All right, terrific. This is Jennifer Nisanoff, and it is 11 o'clock. I call the meeting to order. If we could all please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. Next, roll call. Let's go around the room. Like to start, Daniel?
Sure. You got Daniel Potter, Public Works Director for DSCDD.
Jennifer Nisanoff, Safety and Security Subcommittee. Okay. Thank you. We have a couple things for public comment. Both people who submitted items, they have comments on certain agenda items within the meeting, and they said that they could wait until we actually talked about that agenda item. So I have them right here, and they can keep me honest if I forget to mention them. Okay, approval of minutes. Let's start with the October 24th minutes. Did anyone have any comments on these minutes?
None from me. CC.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for October 24th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for October 24th. Chudkowski.
Thank you. Yes, let's all remember to say names today because we're recording this for minutes and notes and what. Any seconds? Or a second?
I second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. They were approved. Second to do the paperwork here. Motion by okay, and the November 22nd minutes. Any comments about that?
CC Haas, item G, I believe, is misnamed. It's written as Aviano Circle signage request, but it was Sevilla entryway brick paver subject. That was item G from that agenda. Because Aviano is addressed above that already.
Yes, okay.
The other thing I would mention about minutes is that the comment about Avianos in the E section just states that it was not discussed due to the fact that we had to leave the room early. But I believe we said we table it for the next meeting. It did not appear on today's agenda.
Yeah, okay. Bring it up when we ask for any walk-ons.
Fine, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments or suggestions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes with that one change?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Second?
CC seconds it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, it passes. All right, financial statement review. Give me a second here. All right, we have the financial information for October to November. Any questions or comments on this?
None from CC.
Okay. Did everyone get the email from Bob on how to access the overall results? I can't remember who that went to.
I don't believe so.
Okay, okay. Let me get that forwarded to you. Let me write myself a note. I will forward it to Georgia and ask her to please. Because what it is, it's a nice little description on how to go out and find it on the website. So that you can see the website.
What is that?
And the financial information.
Yeah.
And I was able to pull the entire, I don't know what you call it, they call it an expenditure report for last fiscal year, safety and security, from, I think it was one of the Board of Supervisors meetings. So if you just go out there, you know where you can find the old information, the old meetings. If you go out and look at one of their meetings, they have two a month, I think. It was the first one. You can go out there and it's an attachment to one of the agenda items, and you have to scroll down to page like 100 and something. But once you get down there, it's a very comprehensive report, everything you'd ever want to see. But then it's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. It's really 3.5 pages.
You could rephrase everything you'd never want to see.
I guess it depends what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It might prove
No, I'm only
helpful.
kidding.
But it's not just Pelican, it's all a gateway, so there's a lot of information out there. Okay, that's what I wanted to mention, make sure you guys knew where that was. And I'll write myself a note to get that, those directions forwarded on to you.
Jennifer, can I interject for fast
Yeah.
too? Daniel Potter, Public Works Director for GSCDD. Laura is currently working on the SharePoint and developing the SharePoint on her side so that the ponds and all the other committees and everybody that's across the board, including PAC, can see all the financials. She's going to keep a running real time, well, as close as real time as she can get the financials in a folder on SharePoint currently in the board and committees folders. So at some point in January, I'm going to start doing some training at the beginning of some of our sessions to teach people how to do SharePoint, to be able to access those files, and you'll be able to see the financials throughout the month, not just when we meet.
Okay, and I think those directions are probably pointing to the same place.
Yep.
And by the way, Bob just texted me, he's unable to view the meeting.
Yep, nobody's going to be able to, because the YouTube link that we stream through is currently not allowing it. They're not talking between Teams and YouTube right now for permissions. And of course, the agenda only lists the YouTube stream, so it's not going to be able to.
Okay, just let him know. Thank you. Any questions about that? Anything else about financials? Anybody? Okay, terrific. Next thing on the agenda is Fort Myers Police Patrol fee schedule change. As you probably saw, their fees are going up. Probably not a big surprise that, costs of everything are going up. So what this information actually says is that we have, I think it was 34 additional shifts. But the other thing I just went out and calculated, what if we wanted all the shifts and how much would we budget? And if my calculations are correct, it's $1,200. Well, it's $1,260. So I don't know what you guys would like to do. We have a choice. Do we try to stay within the budget that we have and cut back the number of shifts? Or do we just keep on going, assuming that there'll be a shift here and there that they're not going to cover, because that's historically what's happened, and just take a risk that we'll get all shifts covered. Over budget on this, we can always take the $1,200 out of something. What do you guys
This
feel
is
about
CC. Would we also have the option, if we left it alone, and say everybody did show up? I mean, there's other money without formally approving this. We can then shuffle some money.
Yeah, that's
at the
pretty much
end
what
of
I
this.
was trying to.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm understanding you to say.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
Perhaps rather than formally raise the number, because perhaps this committee at some point will rethink the process, and maybe next year we won't commit as many sessions or, appearances. I don't know that, but
Yeah, okay. When you say shift, you mean that shift the money,
Adjust.
meaning adjust the budget? Yeah, that's what I was suggesting, is
Yes.
just leave the budget alone and at the end of the year, take a little risk, and I think it is a little risk,
Yeah.
because historically, there's a shift here or there,
Yeah.
they just can't get an officer
they just
for,
don't have somebody that's,
and still just keep on going, say, this is our schedule, we'll take the risk, at the end of the year, we'll figure out the $1,200. Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know that we need to vote for this necessarily, or do we need to make a motion and vote to go along with that? Just to keep the schedule the way it is and take a risk.
Question here, is that total for the entire year?
Yes. Because it doesn't go into effect until the beginning of January, the new rate.
Of this coming year, January?
Yes,
This January
25,
1st.
yeah. Okay.
I don't see a need to.
Okay, I guess I'm there. I'm seeing stuff.
Is that
Thank
Bob?
you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, terrific. Welcome, Bob. All right. Anything else on that particular item? Okay. Next thing is Sevilla. This was an item that we were going to talk about last meeting, but got postponed to this meeting. And what's happening here apparently is that the Sevilla entryway was damaged when Hotwire came in and did all their infrastructure builds. And they're saying that that they're sinking of brick pavers, and they're asking for us to remediate it. We do have somebody from Marty, who had comments about that. Would you like to start us off with comments?
My only comment is, why don't we hold Hotwire accountable
yes.
to fix the road? Or, if they prefer, we can hire somebody to fix buildings.
Yeah, I don't
My
either.
comment is that
They should be held liable, I agree.
Okay.
Jennifer, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear Marty.
Oh, okay. Could you just maybe come up and speak into the microphone? Thank you.
So my comment on this item is that we need to hold Hotwire accountable. If they damage the road, why don't they come in and fix the road? If they prefer to have us hire somebody and fix the road, we can certainly bill them for it. But they need to be accountable. We shouldn't have to pay for somebody to come in and fix the road if they cause the damage.
Okay, thank you. Any other-
Initially, when the damage first occurred, Hotwire stepped up. And this was the total activity was spearheaded by the community association. And I would think that we need to contact the community association and have them notify Hotwire to fix it.
Yeah, the thing I resonate with that, Bob, is that they had to have an agreement with Hotwire. And I don't know what that agreement was, what was in it in terms of fixing things after the fact. I don't know if they've signed something off saying everything's fine and dandy, we're moving on. So I agree that I think it needs to be sent back there. Also, FYI, I drove by there. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to take a look at it. And I got out of the car, walked around, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure what they were referencing. I mean, I understand from the picture where it is.
There's some slight
but-
sagging, but not to a point that it would obstruct any safety issues or anything along those lines.
Okay,
It's
I
natural
couldn't even
sagging.
find,
It's not, yeah, it's not egregious, but it is a different elevation.
I guess somebody would have to point that out to me, because I'm not that, oh, okay, okay.
It's right there on the screen.
So, yeah, I think
Can-
perhaps if we could,
I'm looking at the screen, I went out there, and what, can you point to me where it is? I mean, I'm not trying to be an obstructionist, I just, right near the center.
oh, so
Well,
that,
when it collapsed, it was a 6 or
Oh.
7 foot hole. It was very deep.
yeah, water, that's why it's
Okay,
darker.
okay,
Water
I
flow.
see now, thank you for pointing to it.
So,
Dark
Yeah,
area
I
is
didn't
probably
even
where
notice it.
water from irrigation is pooling, and then that's just where sediment's settling.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
I would say, to echo what Jennifer has said, perhaps we should reach out to the Bulk Services Committee and find out what were the terms of the deal with Hotwire? What is the status post-deal? Was there some big sign-off and are they off the hook? Whatever.
Right.
But I think that's a reasonable path to investigate before we consider any action. But I'm not sure. Someone mentioned perhaps having the Sevilla Community Association do that through the Bulk Services Committee, or directly through Hotwire. I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, Joe.
Joe Schofield, I think the contract with Hotwire is through the Pelican Preserve Community Association.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's probably where it should go because
Right.
they have the official contact there.
Yeah, that's the Bulk Services Committee working
Yeah,
for them.
through the
Yeah,
community
it's a
association.
subcommittee,
Yes.
yeah. Yep. I think we're all pretty much saying the same thing. This came in from, Renee Dahl.
She's the manager
okay,
at Associate.
yes,
at
I see that.
Associa.
Yeah, okay. So what I'll do is I'll send a note over to Renee and just let her know that unless there's an objection with the committee, that we talked about this, we think it's between them and the PPCA because the contract was with the PPCA and they need to know X, Y, Z, just like what we talked about. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments on that one?
Only thing I would say is ask her to keep us informed
Okay.
of whatever occurs.
Yeah.
Just to close it out?
As you'll see on the screen, these are some items that are being fed in through the C-Click Fix side of the house. So these are items where residents are coming in, and before I spend money to go take care of items that are dollar signs above my threshold, I'm
No,
bringing
that's
it
good.
in front of people
I
on this
think-
committee so that we can all be aware of what's going on with it.
Yes.
I'm able to pull a report from C-Click Fix and filter it out just to items that pertain to Pelican Preserve, and then even more so to say what safety items that are in there. And I'm going to start doing a monthly pull of that and distroing it to the committee. I'll do it as a blind CC so everybody on the committee
Okay, great.
can all
Thank
get
you.
it all at once. It's informative. At least you know what's getting put into the system for items to be, remedied, or whether it's a complaint, whether it's even an asset of ours to do something with. Right now, just for a little update, I'm trying to make it where all of our applications, from the moment somebody puts something into C-Click Fix, it transfers over into our working system for our asset management side of the house, and being able to create a work order to go to vendors, so that, or internally to my staff, to be able to action items if they're valid and they're assets of the district to have fixed, like light out or something to that effect. Once those come in, being able to kick it straight out to a vendor, so there's not a lag time of calling and emailing. And once ultimately what the goal will be, the minute that I submit a work order to a vendor, it gives them the authority to go do the work, and then they can close out the ticket when they're done on their end. It'll come back to staff. Staff will see that work order's been closed out, and then I can go back and feed comments back into C-Click Fix for the resident to know something's been actioned. But that report of all the things that are coming into C-Click Fix will start coming to the committees monthly. So
Good, thank
just so
you.
you're
I
aware of
appreciate
what's
that. I
going
know
on
that
with
was a long road to get all
We're,
that
we're
worked
getting
out.
closer. We're really, really, really close. There's just some glitches in the software, because like just trying to take a round peg and put it in a square hole thing and make that application do what we want it to do. We're working with the software folks over at Cartograph to be able to A, talk back and forth, but B, to be able to get it out the door to a third-party vendor to be able to take care of like electronic poles or roadways or anything that we have that with a preferred vendor that's already on our books to be able to go take care of, an electric thing for lighting or something to that effect that's outside of my purview, being able to do it here in-house.
Okay,
Real close, getting there though.
okay. Yeah, as you know, I'm kind of interested in that system.
Mhm.
And one thing that I've noticed is that when you create a ticket, you're limited to, at least right now, I don't know how flexible it is, you're limited to what you can click on in terms of categorization. So sometimes I'm getting stuff that really isn't safety and security, which is fine, I just kind of ignore it. And I've checked with the other chairs, and they're getting stuff, I guess you're forwarding it on to them. So that's not a problem. But I'm just,
There's an automation set in there right now, so that when somebody says Pelican Preserve Ponds, when they select that, it goes to.
right,
Here, it goes to me, it goes to our environmental specialist, but it also kicks out to Doug Xanter.
right,
And then when it's a safety item that's listed in there, it kicks to you, me. So you're getting
Well-
them as they come in real time, but I'm also gonna do a monthly report to be able to give
no,
everybody.
yeah, I understand.
That'll
Because as I
show
mentioned
everything.
to you, I was starting to keep a spreadsheet, and that just kind of
Ultimately, what
a
I'd
little bizarre.
like to get to is this thing's gonna be a system of systems, right? You're gonna have C-Click Fix, you're gonna have GIS, you're gonna have our asset management software, and they're all gonna talk so that I can put out work orders to people. You're gonna be able to see when they go into C-Click Fix, they're gonna go to click on an item and realize real fast that is not a asset that the district manages. That's probably an HOA or something to that. We're trying to get it
Right.
weeded out so all the assets are into GIS, and then that transposes into our asset management system. So somebody can't even go into C-Click Fix and click on something that does not belong to us to manage
Right,
and try to put in a complaint or a request. We're building it out. It's not a fast process because there's different vendors across the board that all have input into this.
sure,
When we finally get it set up and it's running smoothly, it's going to be a really great tool to use. So we've already got the Passarella GIS mapping into our system for it. So you guys are actually ahead of the gateway side of the house as far as the asset management side being put into the system. So it should run smoother for you guys, faster than it will even for gateway.
yay.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, FPL streetlight conversion discussion. All right. We may have progress.
Yeah.
Want me to give you an update?
Yes, please.
Ed Hedges, PPAC, kind of chairing the, or leading the subgroup on streetlights. But a week ago, I had a conversation with the FPL lead, and there was some, I guess, kind of miscommunication a little bit on several things. And he sent us up to look at some streetlights, but then, and that I took a picture of and had the last meeting. And those were special, that he, not what they would be putting in here. So the picture that I gave you is what they're currently looking at. It's the teardrop with the bracket on the black pole. They are currently going to redo their layout. And we hopefully get that here in the next couple of weeks. I'm sure Christmas is going to slow things down. With refocusing some of the lights at some of the intersections, so we make sure the intersections get well lit, especially where there's crosswalks and golf cart paths and stuff, and then work out from that. Because there were a few areas where some of those key intersections weren't covered real well. And then south of, one of the early plans had, a different post light south of the bridge on Pelican Boulevard. But for uniformity, we're going to use this light on everything. And it will be, because it's a little more directional than the post lights, which go out directions. And we do have those residences down there that do face Pelican Boulevard. But they, south of the bridge, they're going to space things out, so there will be a little less, streets won't be quite as bright as the 4-lane boulevards will be. And then they have shields that they can put on these lights, especially where the units, actually face the street. But fortunately, those units, none of the living spaces really face the street. It's basically the garages and maybe a spare bedroom. So we think we've got kind of a good plan going forward. So we'll see, once they do that lighting and redo the plan, then we'll start getting a cost estimate. But he was saying that the black concrete poles are about a year lead time. So it would be, the earliest that we could go through this conversion would be in '26. So, and we really don't know the cost yet until they redo that estimate, but it, I mean, the earlier estimates were in the $6,500 to $7,000 a month cost range for leasing the lights, which is, from some of the back of the envelope, cost benefit, it's, you know, when you look at the maintenance budget that you've got of about $80,000, some years we spend it, some years we don't. We've been having a lot of fixes lately, so. Anyway, I can answer any other questions you might have regarding those, but hopefully we'll have something for the January meeting.
That'd be great.
So,
My only comment was, I think the 1-year lead time might not be too terrible because it's going to take time to plan some of that stuff out and to do any necessary budgeting.
yeah.
Because it's going to come, I mean, I know that eventually it's going to hopefully be cheaper, otherwise we probably wouldn't do it. But it's going to be a different kind of budget too, so we might need to do some financial planning on that.
From my purview and perspective, the frequency at which things are breaking for the lights that are currently in place and that at the end of useful life out there, it's time to really start putting some effort into allocating funds and
Yeah.
planning to move forward with another option.
Right. But then that goes into the business case if you think about it, because you need people, you need money to fix things, you know, there's a lot that goes into that. And that's just one more item to stick in there that I think will prove out the business case, but time will tell. I think we just need the business case because we need to show people that we're thinking through the financials as well.
Absolutely. They're breaking faster than I can get them fixed.
Yeah.
I get them fixed and then turn my back on them and they're right back down, so.
Yeah, I see them coming in. I mean, almost every week you have maybe 2 or 3, something like this.
I've got 2 vendors that are consistently out there. I've actually started going back more to West Coast Electric when Bentley can't get out there. And it keeps going at the frequency that it's at just to keep lights on the main roadways,
Yeah.
the arterial roadways. I might even have to pick up a 3rd vendor because that's just how frequent I have people coming in and
Yeah.
out.
Just one related potential question. As we talk about the possibility of relocating some in the areas where they face homes, is there any potential need to coordinate with the landscape committee for whatever excavations or anything like, or replantings or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, when we get closer to it, I mean, what they did over here in Gateway is they came out and actually staked where the lights were gonna be, but we do know we'll have to coordinate with the new placements, landscaping, some of the trees will have to be trimmed back and things like that, plus also with the plowing that they do, the irrigation, we're probably gonna have the irrigation guys go right behind the installers, because they're probably going to break some of the irrigation lines along the boulevards and stuff, so that'll be a big part of the construction effort when we get that far, but.
Depends on who FPL subs out.
Yeah.
Typically, they'll come in and they'll do a GPR, ground penetrating radar, to find assets that are in the ground, but those things only work as good as the operators behind them sometimes, and some of the smaller lines for irrigation may or may not pick up on it, so there's bound to be some reuse water lines hit. Normally your water and sewer lines won't, because those will pick up pretty easily. As far as the landscaping side of the house, it's you get enough lead time with that one to stake it, validate it based off the photometrics that they have for a plan. There's a variance of moving left and right about 10 feet.
Sure, okay.
So we can work around a lot of stuff, even on the gateway side of the house here. Yes, there's places where you just have to trim back or remove something, but there's enough flex in their
Okay.
planning
As
to,
long as they don't get blindsided.
to shift left and right.
Thank
And then I'll make sure that landscape's incorporated into it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I just say, I like the pattern. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's nice.
You know, the other option in that, which is on the front of their catalog, is the burn light, but it has about half the lumens, and so it would require a lot more light poles to go with it. So this one's very similar to that one, but
Okay, thank you.
Ed, was there a picture of that one in here?
it's on the very front cover. There we go.
Oh, the one in the upper left?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what they call the burn light. It's got the same arm, but it's, but it has
More
less,
cover.
less lumens. So it would require a lot more lights along the street, so.
But it does help focus that light downward, not outward. Which,
Yeah.
as I'm learning, is you're gonna really wanna have that, these people disgruntled that it's beaming across and getting a lot of bleed over.
Thank you.
Is that just generally a problem, like Ed said, near residences, or are there other places where
Well-
people get annoyed at that?
For gateway side of the house, 20-year-old poles that are running at about 30% efficiency that we're replacing. So from day one when it was installed, what it should be for brightness and lumens
Yeah,
versus what it is today has degraded
Yeah.
significantly over time. So people are used to that lower level of the ambient light. And then we're going to LEDs with these new poles. So it changes the type of the brightness that's coming out of the pole to begin with, which they're stronger. And you go to, and they're much stronger than the factory setting of the originals. So there's a big variance in between what they think they should be today
yeah,
versus what they're gonna
it's a
get.
shock.
So it carries,
Okay,
it does.
One of the other things, since Daniel's got the picture up there, with the new lighting, it should significantly improve the light levels at the entranceway with the new plan. So I know there was some
that's good.
previous discussions about adding some lighting and stuff to the entryway, but I think it'd be more prudent to wait until we get through this, because it should improve the lighting levels there at the entry. So we may not have to do any additional lighting there.
Also a trouble area for me to keep lit.
Okay, great. Anything else before we move on? Okay, let's move on to stop sign at Azura and Cypress Grove. Just as a background, a resident contacted me. It was quite distressed. Well, I don't quite might be an overstatement, but he was concerned because remember we had those movable signs that said
Stop for pedestrians.
exactly. And so he said one of them was stolen and one of them was removed. And he wanted to know if we could put them back.
So they
And
were golf course signs that had been run over. Yes.
Well,
they had
I'm
been
just
run over
telling
and
you what-
damaged beyond
yeah.
repair. They don't meet MUCD standards. And there's currently not an actual plan for a stop sign in that. Somebody put that in there from the golf course is what only thing I can draw to is that somebody from the golf course put them in at some point in the past. I have notified, since I saw this item come in, Tetra Tech, and just kind of gave them a warning that we might be looking to do a design out for a stop sign at this intersection right here.
Okay.
So,
City would have to approve,
city would have
Yeah.
to approve it.
and I doubt that they would.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wanted you to know that they're aware in the background. So if you make any decisions today, I can move forward with that if that's what you feel is appropriate.
Okay.
I can-
Joe,
I
you
can-
had,
I could ask them to come up with more options, or you could go to a
We-
different engineer. I know Pelican Preserve has been using FTE. The speed hump was an FTE project. The bicycle lanes, things like that. So
Is this, I'm assuming this is a stop sign on Cypress Grove.
it would-
it
that
is
was
not
the
a
thing.
stop sign currently.
No.
It
Well, I mean,
is-
that's
What is
what
it
they're
they're
asking
asking
for.
Okay, one at a time, please. Yeah.
But
go
that's
ahead.
what they're asking for, is a
Yes.
stop sign on,
That was,
and I think that's a good idea.
okay.
I'd just like to add that this, us, safety and security, we've addressed this formally in the minutes when the first one was going toward the town center. The one going the other way was the lesser one, later one. We voted to not replace it. And it only confused many drivers unless you really know the area. And we voted not to replace it, just that's on record.
Mm-hmm. You had something, Jay? Okay.
This said, there's been several discussions on this intersection previously, because there's kind of multiple issues. One is the golf cart crossing across to Zura there, where some of the golf cart people go diagonally and go down
Yes.
Cypress Grove rather than, so there's a lot of issues to kind of look at this one. One of the things that I had started talking with Dean about previously was, maybe putting a flasher on the pedestrian crossing with a button so that pedestrians, when they wanted to cross, the flasher on the pedestrian crossing signs would flash for a few minutes and while people cross. There is a pedestrian crosswalk there from the Azura side to the park on the other side, and so some of the people do use that to cross over to the park area. But stop signs, I don't think the city would probably approve a stop sign, and it doesn't seem like in Pelican that stop signs keep people from
They sure don't.
stopping. They don't necessarily stop anyway, whether they want to or not, so.
They didn't approve it at the speed hump, so.
Yeah. And, so I'd maybe, look at maybe some other options other than a stop sign or whatever, but if we need to do something, so.
Okay. Joe, you had something that you might like to share with us?
Joe Schofield, Karina. Yes, first of all, I want to say this is the first time I've personally addressed this committee. I have worked with many of your members in the past when I was part of PPAC. And one of the issues that we worked with when I was PPAC was rumble strips. Biggest mistake we made. We did our due diligence, but we didn't do it well because we did not understand the implications, not only to what it would do to the traffic and golf carts, but what it would do to the community, which was quite outrageous. So with that history, I would like to talk about stop signs. We talked about stop signs where the rumble strips were. Never could get them approved because it doesn't meet the criteria. I think you'd have the same issue at this intersection. I think your neighbors would be furious if they put a stop sign up, if they even got approval. And the signs that were there, I know that for years they were stolen. Castle said they always got put to the same spot so they could retrieve them and put them back again. I did not know that they were put there by the golf course. But I will say this, there is a crossing path for golf carts. Golf course golf carts are not legal on our streets. They do not meet the criteria. It's been an issue that's been discussed many, many times, and they are not allowed there, and they cross there all the time. They could get a ticket. If you put one of your policemen there, he could ticket every one of them. They don't meet the safety codes of our golf carts for streets. So that should be a big thing. If you put a sign, you ought to tell them golf carts not prohibited unless they're street ready. That's an issue. I'm very much opposed. When I saw this, I thought, oh my gosh, here we go back with rumble strips all over again. There might be a better alternative, perhaps a sign for people heading east on Cypress Grove, showing that there's an intersection there. Although, again, I think anybody who lives in Pelican Preserve is very much aware of that. So you could put a yellow sign there, which is a legal sign by the state. They have them in front of that elementary school that says speed limit 35 miles an hour. That is not a legal speed limit. That's a suggestion. I carry a letter in my car in case a policeman pulls me over and gives me a ticket. Or tries to give me a ticket, but I got that by the city because I asked that question years ago. So I think this should not be, stop signs should not be even considered. There may be something that could do it, but you have 39 houses there. And I see more golf carts crossing than I see cars or pedestrians ever. So I think this is just going the wrong direction. I sympathize with those people, but if you're going to put stop signs or even think about it, then you can put them at Azura, Bellagio on Pelican Preserve Boulevard. That's a horrible intersection. And there's thousands of cars going past there. The one on Cypress Grove only has about 1,000 residents that would be involved with it. So I'm just not very excited if you follow this and do something. I just wanted to make my point on that because I think you're going to have a lot of feedback, and it's taken years to fix the rumble strips. And I think what you did, quite honestly, is a great thing. And I think it's working better than the rumble strips ever did. And I want to thank you all. These subcommittees are wonderful. I helped start the landscaping subcommittee, and I see you were talking about landscaping. Safety, security, landscaping are in the same hip pocket. Trees need to be trimmed to provide better safety. And I'm very thrilled with the direction everything's going. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for the input. I actually got public comment via an email from somebody on this one. He saw it on the agenda. So I think that's really pretty nice that we're sending those agendas out to people who want to see them. And he had a suggestion very similar to, I think it was Ed, you were talking about the button you can push to flash. He said he didn't seem to think that the stop sign was a good idea, but he thought that that might be a better solution. So one other piece of input from a resident.
This is Cece with a question. One of the things, as you read the agenda, there was talk of the possibility of contracting for a review of this. What kind of money is involved in that? For something that, based on the experience of this committee and other instances where issues of this, like this, do we have the power to say no?
Oh, we absolutely have the power to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, we can say no, we don't want anyone to go do an investigation, and perhaps go back to the resident who suggested this and just say, here's what we discussed. At this time, we are going to do.
Yeah. Or
whatever.
yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we don't end up spending money on something that could be just
right.
Not.
I understand. Any other comments? So my reading of the comments here today is that we probably don't want to go forward with this at this time. Is that a good read? And that would include not going and getting any additional investigation. Is that correct? Okay, I'm getting some head nods here. Would it be appropriate to say, I'll go back to the resident and just say that we've discussed it previously, that in our experience, that we need approval from Fort Myers, that we've tried to put things in, a stop sign in another location that was much busier than this location and could not get approval. The public comment, this may seem limited, but this is a lot of public comment for this one issue. I mean, we had 3 different people say something, so we had public comment.
You don't have to tell them how many people.
Right. Well, I just want to be fair when
Public
I say,
comment.
and we had public comment that not in favor of a stop sign. So at this point, we would like to just say.
And some of whom with experience in previous issues of this
Yeah.
type at Pelican Preserve, and the potential that, the police department won't go for it, City of Fort Myers won't, whatever.
So
Yeah, it would be the city, I would
Based on
think, of
precedent.
Fort Myers, yeah.
So Jennifer, am I hearing a motion to table this indefinitely?
I think so. I
Well,
think that's where we're going, but let's hear the last
before-
comment here.
yeah,
Yeah.
my comment is that I understand that we're all opposed to the stop sign, and that makes sense. However, the pedestrian crossway with the flashing light thing, is that something we still want to consider, or are we saying no to that also? Yeah, I guess that's where I'm at here.
Is that something that's going to need a study and
Well, it's gonna need a
approved by
design.
Fort Myers?
It's gonna need a design from the engineers, and then they're gonna have to get it through a permitting phase with the city for approvals. And then at that point, we would solicit somebody to install it. It's
I
not,
think you should see how many people are actually crossing. And you just put it in one place, depending on the one.
It's going to be everywhere.
That's a good point, too.
We know how to do a study on traffic. Is there an approved way of doing a study on people crossing a crosswalk, short of sitting there and counting people? I mean, that seems.
Give me a chair and pay
No, I'm not kidding. I know people who've done that as part-time jobs, to sit there and count cars. So now we can count cars through systems, but I don't know about people.
Can we put a camera up there at all? Or is there some taboo?
Well, you'd have to pay, you know, yeah.
Not much gain.
I don't think this community will back down though.
This is Ed. Daniel, would it be
I don't know.
possible to even like go to Linksys or whoever does the signs and see what it might cost to put flashers on those crosswalks, just to get a ballpark of, hey, is this 2,000 or 3,000 or is it 20 or 30,000? I mean, they would probably have to be solar powered, but if there's even anything that could be
Yeah,
done.
I absolutely can get you quotes for said type of lights, but without knowing what is feasible for that road, I
Right.
can't ask them what it is. I can ask them what they've used elsewhere
Yeah.
in similar roadways.
I just,
Um,
it
But
seems
again,
like,
without having an engineer design, because they're gonna have to do the striping and the signs, the electrical to go along with powering the signs. So there's a little bit more than just put a sign on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got,
Without now knowing what the requirement is for DOT standards for that, because that's what it'll come down to when you go through
Right.
the city of Fort Myers. They're gonna say, what is the DOT standard for this type of signage on that type of road?
I guess my thought is if you even knew, had a ballpark of what it would cost, even though it's a ballpark, and I know there's no electrical near there, so you'd have to be solar powered, just like the flasher is for the golf cart crossing. But
I can definitely.
otherwise you start to say, oh, have an engineer go do the design. Okay, you're spending money to do the design, and then once the design, then you do an estimate, and then, so it's like, if this is gonna be a $20,000 or $30,000 boondoggle, it's probably, no, you don't even wanna have the engineer proceed with it, so was my only thought is,
I'm in the same mindset of you. I have no problem going to Lycans and asking what they would recommend putting in there for that as a pedestrian. Yeah.
And the other thing is, there were two. There was one in each direction, the old sign. Are we talking about both locations or just the one?
Are you talking about the flow of traffic on both sides of the road?
Well,
Right.
there was
Right.
one, right at
For
the
each
entry
direction.
to Azura, and then there was one in the other direction on
Right.
Cypress Grove. And that one disappeared first.
We're at on the screen. I've got it pulled
Oh,
up.
where are we?
This is Cypress
Where-
Grove and
yeah.
Missouri.
You see where the crosswalk is? There was one on, I don't know which is
It was,
north, but I
okay,
guess
it
north
was,
is
it was,
going up?
it was right opposite the crosswalk.
Okay, so south and north.
It was directly opposite the crosswalk where the
Yeah.
line arcs beyond. It was right there. And that was that's a bit of a crest there. It's a bit of a crest as you,
you can see the crosswalk signs.
Mhm.
yes. The painted crosswalk you see.
Why don't you move the crosswalk to the other side, away from that curve? That might be the cheapest thing of all. Just make people walk down across the street and then
Oh, yeah, they'd love that.
No matter where it's at, you're gonna have signage.
Mhm.
have 20 more feet.
Gonna have it the other direction then too.
We didn't get too much time.
Okay, so, oh, Marty.
Marty Manton, Fell Monticello. So you're running into another question of mine about whatever happened to our pull-along trailer where it gave you the speed that you were going, it was so.
We're going to talk about that.
That's
Well,
on the agenda.
That could be a tool that you could use at this intersection too, so. Just a thought.
Okay, maybe a tool at that intersection to tell you how many cars are going by? What question are you asking? Because we were talking about number
Put a
of,
sign up that says how fast you're going. If somebody sees a sign that says how fast they're going, they pay attention, they look down at the speedometer and go, oh, look, I am going that fast.
okay, so it's just basically awareness that they're going too quickly.
You know.
So it's not necessarily there's a pedestrian there. It's
You
just
know,
trying to
it's like-
slow people
it's like-
down.
It's like
Okay.
parking a police car there with nobody in it.
Yeah,
Okay? People see
Which
the
they do on
police
tree
car and
lines.
they step on the brake and they slow down.
yeah,
Unless,
Okay, I understand
unless
what
they
you're saying.
saw on Facebook that there was a cop car there.
yeah, well, then they really slow down. Okay. So where do we want to go, folks? I think we're saying we don't want Tetra Tech to go out and do something. We want to get quotes from Lycans on either this type of signage or something else that they might recommend.
I
That's,
would make a motion to accept that position at this point.
okay, so the motion is to go to Lycan to get a quote.
Now, would Daniel be doing that?
Yes,
Okay,
or his team would.
well, you know what I mean.
Yes, that is a better word. Okay, to get estimate.
Well, they're all estimates until they get signed.
Yeah, well, yeah. All right. So if you could just restate the motion, please.
So this is Cece. I'm making a motion that we solicit an opinion from Lycan as to options for this particular area and subsequent costs of the options.
Okay, and that motion is just to determine if
Options.
it's not a commitment to do anything. It's just to find out a budgetary, to decide whether we want to proceed with anything else.
This is a
Because-
review process.
Yeah, because of all the other things that we talked about earlier. All right, because I want to make sure that when I send this thing back to the resident, that we can say, stop sign, no, but we're looking into alternatives, not sure where we're going to go with this, if anything, but we're willing to pursue it just a little bit further.
Excellent.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're all in sync.
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Abel second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. I'll send this email. All right. All right, this next one, scope of cameras at front entrance. This is kind of a question and a request, more of a question. We did an overview for the residents on PPAC and the 3 subcommittees last week. And this came up in the discussion and it also came up afterwards. And that was about residents walking in and out of the community. And as we've discussed before, having Wiser, having a requirement of Wiser to keep track of those people coming in and out is almost impossible because there's only one person there and they're usually busy watching the cameras or helping people come into the community appropriately. So the suggestion was, can we put cameras so that they could actually see the sidewalks? So pedestrians, golf carts, bicyclists, whoever, as they were coming in and out, at least it would be on camera. I said, that might be a possibility. Let me see. Marty has some input on that.
Marty
forget
Manton, Monticello. So if you put cameras there, what are you going to do with that information? You're not going to run them through facial recognition. You're not going to stop them from going through. It's just a waste of money. What are you going to do with the info? Okay, I got them on tape. So what?
I think part of it,
I'm sorry, what? Jay?
Some kind of incident. Police have to investigate. They've got an idea. Cameras are stored all the time, so.
So I worked at a place where the building had a dumpster in the back corner of the parking lot. And people used to come in there and throw their household trash into our dumpster. And we were essentially paying to take other people's trash away. So on one of the light poles, we mounted a camera. It wasn't hooked up to
Fake
anything,
camera.
okay? But we mounted
yeah.
a camera.
I understand.
It stopped right away.
my feeling is, and it was, by the way, that presentation you made was excellent. Uh, My feeling then and throughout is that it's not just those two sidewalks by which people can enter this property. So to me, it's foolhardy to try to control. I agree with Jay that it could be a useful piece of data should you be looking for a perp. But on the other hand, there's just so many areas of access to this place that are not monitored. To me, it's like a stick in time, a pinch in time. It's not enough. That's my general opinion on that.
Okay.
What is and I used to remember this, those cameras that were placed not by Pelican about 2 years ago. They're kind of focused on the cars and license
Yes.
plates, is that correct?
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with pedestrians, okay.
No.
Okay.
And that was, I think, Lee County Sheriff's.
Yeah, I believe that was the sheriff's.
That hooks up to the sheriff's.
Mm-hmm.
They've been very beneficial. They've actually coming in one-way gateway, and they were able to contact the police and set up a tracking for it.
So I don't really know what to do about this, quite frankly.
You know, anybody can come into Pelican in
Yes,
their car.
Absolutely.
it's a public, open place.
And I hate to use that word.
That we're gated.
Somebody walks in, they're doing more effort than somebody who drives up to the, as oncoming.
Yeah.
And we can follow them, but
We call it access control. We don't call it security or anything like that. It's access control. Okay.
Where do we go with this?
Well, do I hear a motion where we might like to go with this? I'll make a suggestion. If you want a suggestion, how about if we just say that we've discussed it, we don't know what we are actually going to do with any of this data, we don't consider this a huge problem. And at this time, we thank them for the feedback and I think it's all focused on cars and
Yeah,
license
it's-
plates.
It's all roadway. I don't know if it captures sidewalk well enough.
No,
or
but
not.
periodically. People have wanted gates put in, they've wanted lots of different things.
we looked at turnstile,
Mm-hmm,
nothing seemed to really, everything was expensive
yes,
and benefit marginal.
yep.
I support the response you have phrased. I don't know if everybody else does.
I tend to agree that can't see putting a whole effort into documenting people walking in on pedestrians.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
Cameras. Cost to put those cameras. Times that the police.
I think,
I don't know.
I think I'm sorry.
I don't know what the experience in this community. Some other communities.
So the cameras right now at the guardhouse, the video retention is about 21 days. We're trying to get it expanded to 30 days. So by the time we get something reported to us, half the time we're real close to that threshold for 21 days. Right, they're able to pull whatever's on the server, however the police want to pull. We always
Yeah.
comply, no issues, but as far as adding more cameras, I don't know what benefits you're really going to receive out of it. That wouldn't be captured in some shape or form already. What you're going to do with that information.
I think the worst case we ever had. And
Let's get up there.
there's several
more security, but there's only so much. It's a law of diminishing return.
Can I ask a question, please, of Daniel? What is, in your experience with the rest of Gateway, are there other communities such as ours that have public streets and have similar situations or access potentials?
Well, yeah, you've got Stony Brook. That's a public road, that's Gateway brand, and nobody can stop anybody coming through Stony Brook's gates either. That would be the only way is if it was privately owned roads to be able to stop any access.
Yeah,
There's cameras, they're not focusing on pedestrians coming in or out.
Yeah, because it's got gates across the.
They have a gate. Not that gate actually works or not, it's a different story. For the sidewalk, there's a gate there, but you walk 2 foot to the left and you go around it. And there's no actual barrier that really stops anybody from going in and out of Stony Brook. So it's not any more or less than what you've got in Pelican.
totally unrelated, but Stony Brook, I learned this morning, a resident, Jason Fields, his father died yesterday, if anybody knows Jason Fields.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Okay. The last item on our agenda.
Was
and
there
I-
a motion in there
Oh.
that required any action? Or
sorry?
tabling, even if you're gonna table it?
Are we tabling or are we just saying closing it out for the time being? I don't know if that's the same thing or not, because it's going to come up again, so we'll have to talk about it in some other form or fashion.
I like using the verbiage tabled indefinitely until a need arises to.
I like that.
Yeah, good wording. He's been there, done that.
It's, everything comes around full circle eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so who would like to make a motion to table this indefinitely until something else happens?
Ed would be happy to
Okay,
send a motion to table the scope of the cameras at the front entrance
okay,
for
Go.
perpetuity.
okay. Second,
I second that, CC.
okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. This last item, I don't know that we can do. It was to transition the traffic study program to a new team member, and the new team member was Rich. I'm worried he's not here because he said he was going to be here. He has volunteered to take this program over. And since the two of us can't get together to do a transition except in a meeting, we were just going to do the end of the meeting today to do that transition. So we'll have to postpone this until Rich can attend. So, unless anybody has any questions about that.
No,
Yes, sir.
Marty Mantonfeld, Monticello. So have we trained the gateway technician that services Pelican Preserve on how to pull this trailer around and set up the signs and recharge the batteries for, getting the information on how fast people are going? Have we trained them? No.
That's part of the transition. Is
Do
to,
they need training?
yeah, a little bit.
All right. So do we pay to store this thing?
It's being stored right now in the gatehouse.
do we own it?
Yes, we own
We
it.
own it. But I believe this committee approved funding for a contractor that monitors it.
It's the software that will pull the data and create the reports.
And so we've paid this for a year and we're
Yes.
still not using it.
Yes, because we didn't have anybody to do the work to get it out there. Now that we have people to get it out there, we want to start doing it. And Rich has volunteered to take the lead on that.
Okay. So we need to get the gateway person trained though, right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's training the people who are going to put the sign out. And it's also training the person who's going to pull the data from the software package.
And who will make the direction as to where it's placed and how long it stays
It
in it?
would be Rich.
No, who is Rich?
Rich Glover?
Oh, okay,
Oh, Rick.
okay. Okay, I wasn't sure who.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because that was something I was doing. And
Oh,
we
were you?
created a schedule. And then every couple weeks, we would move it around. And then we got derailed from hurricanes and personnel changes and O&M agreements and.
Do you want to move this item to the next meeting?
Yes, please. You had a walk-on item.
Well, it's kind of it's a walk-on, but
Well,
a carryover as
yes.
well. We had been addressed, actually Jen was addressed directly by an owner at Aviano about a circle there where the road goes, there's very much confusion to a driver. And we had pictures, we talked about it previously, to a driver as to when you go around this island, I'll call it, and you go to the right, you don't realize it's two-way. And they have a sign, which I shared a photo. They put their own sign up that, basically says, be careful. And it may need a formal review. And we talked about, we had to table it because we couldn't talk about it, but it's still on the table, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yep, that's pretty much the net out of it.
This is Ed. I think there's a couple areas on that street, not only that little place, but at the park at the end where there's probably the same issue.
That's actually the area I'm speaking of, the
Well,
one at the
The
end.
circle.
Okay, well, you've got the other kind of halfway up where it does the same thing. You've got a little island
Right.
that's a
Oh,
two-way
I'm
there.
sorry, yeah.
But you have the same thing over in Prado.
Yep.
And so if you could address anything, you probably should address both areas and do something similar to what was done in Prado, so we have some consistency. But I would also say that there are some signs missing. When I did the sign inventory, the golf cart crossing on that road is not signed with golf cart crossing signs and stuff. So if you're going to look at doing something, you may want to address all of them at the same time. It'd probably be a little cheaper if you're going to start signing one and 6 months later sign the other one, or do something just to do them all, but to maybe do a comprehensive look at that road and what needs to be done, and do something similar to what's in Prado.
The one in
And take
Prado
care of
works
the golf
pretty
cart
well.
crossing at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other signs other than the golf cart crossing they're missing?
Yeah, the golf cart crossing up there doesn't have any.
No, anything other than the golf cart signs? You said there were a number of
Not on that
signs.
street, but other places,
Oh,
there's
no.
some
Okay.
things missing.
I can't. Wait, stay there.
Yeah. No, that's on Aviano, I think.
This is
Yeah,
where
it's down
he's
that
pointing,
way.
But this is where, these are two-way. People don't realize it. They try to go around. And it's two-way. And this is two-way as they come this way.
Yeah,
Should it be two-way?
yeah.
Well, yeah, but you need signs that tell people it's two-way. There's no way of knowing when you enter at that spot.
But I mean, why is that to be two-way?
Well, because I don't know the answer to that.
The park being what's in the middle
just
of
seems
the
like a safety
island.
issue.
Okay,
Just
how
make
about
it
if we
one
do
way.
one, I'm sorry, can we do one discussion at a time? Yeah. Okay, but the park being in the middle of the island, is that the park?
This one.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And those,
Okay, one person at a time, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, did you have something, Steve?
just to say that as you look at that V, it's two-way in both,
Yes.
on both sides. So people, and when you if you're going along the right there, you don't know that it's two-way. People.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I don't have it. Oh, I could. Yeah, I can go off the website.
Okay, and then, did you have a comment?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody. Have a happy holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you. Okay. So what would your suggestion be for our action?
I mean,
Do we want to take a comprehensive look at this, or?
I guess I have a question. Why does it have to be two-way around that park? Does it? Why couldn't it just be one-way? And to me, that would be a whole lot safer, just make it a
Where's it at?
one-way route around it.
we're seeing right here,
We're looking
okay?
at-
I think this is GIS. So we just have to get to the right level of detail for whatever Ed's going to show us.
That's all it was,
What were you looking for?
to show you what was done at Prado.
Oh, okay, okay. It works well, the one back by the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
'cause
works well. I never see, I mean, I don't sit there and watch all the time. I live right up the street. And I never see problems back there.
No, but there, a couple of years ago, there were problems, and so there were signs put up.
Right.
To
Clarify, yeah,
clarify the direction of traffic, and so what I was saying was do something similar
right.
at the two
Right.
locations.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, I think it's working well.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to confuse the issue, but yeah, it seems to be working well back there.
So that's the only sign.
That's the only sign. So here's the photos that I shared last time. And, they were transmitted to everybody on the system. But anyway, they have that sign there, which you can't even see unless you get out of your car and try to read it. I mean, but then, so that sign is placed right at that V that you see on the map. But then I went around to the reverse of that, the rounded corner in the farthest area, there is no sign at all. You have no way of knowing that it's going to be two-way coming at you. And I think they make sense.
There's no signage on any of the cul-de-sacs across Pelican that says that it's two-way, one-way, nothing on any of them.
Well,
You can go to
actually,
the end of any road out there and there's not any signage.
I think in Casella, the first one when you enter, I believe, has arrows. I'm almost positive, the one opposite our pool.
But that's not at
Oh,
the end.
No, that's a roundabout.
Oh, but the
Yeah.
ones at the end, no, they don't.
No,
Flip-
that's what I'm saying, the cul-de-sacs at the end of the road.
Cul-de-sacs at the
They're
ends.
narrower lanes. They're narrower lanes. These are full
Yeah.
roadways.
If you were gonna do any signage around these, I would make them one directional.
Yeah.
That would be the safety
Right, to me, that's,
aspect of
yeah,
it. If you're
that
gonna put
would be
in
the same.
multi-lane and people aren't used to multi-lanes around these kind of,
I don't think I've
You know,
ever
the other,
seen.
the other
any
thing is,
go
at
wrong
the,
way on
at the tennis courts, there's the parking area, the parking strip, and that's a one-way thing around there, but
Okay.
it used to be two ways.
You have to remember, they're in the town center, those are private streets. These are public streets governed by the city of Fort Myers, and if they're designated as two-way, I think would have to be a designation difference if you wanted to make them one-way.
you would.
So, and that's why at Prado, they basically just did the signings to clarify that they were two-way. And the cul-de-sacs are a narrower lane around the cul-de-sacs versus the full roadway width like these are. It gets very complicated on some of this stuff, what you
Yeah,
gotta
it
go
does.
through.
Excuse me, and question for Ed. Is there some history on the process by which this was done at Prado? Was it this committee?
Yes, it went through this committee, whether or not it was permitted through city traffic
It
engineering,
was done
I
before
don't
the
know.
district
But, yeah.
kind of took over.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm governed by the DOT standards when it comes to a private or publicly owned roadway or by a public entity. So those roads are public, they must meet these standards when it comes to signage.
Of course.
I've had that heartburn in this exact committee as well.
yeah,
but which, yeah, we won't go into that.
yeah. 4 years ago,
Suggestion,
something like that.
Could we perhaps ask, you said it was this other company, Lexus something?
Lycan
A
was the
company
signage.
you mentioned was started with an L, that
Lycan.
Lycan, could we just ask them to give an opinion on this? Is there a
Well,
large cost to
they-
something like that?
They really just give this, we tell them what signs and where to
Oh,
put
so
them.
they're
They
not
don't do the engineering. That's like a tech
Okay.
or a FTE, I think.
They
They're the
will do
ones
a
who-
one-for-one what's in place and replace it and bring a new pole in one-for-one, but they won't take it upon themselves to change or modify any of the traffic pattern signage.
So
Yeah,
are
we
we
tell them.
saying that if we just got this ordered, purchased the same sign that exists at Prado, and just install it, is that no good?
1 for 1, or you gotta get it engineered and approved through permitting.
Okay. Yeah.
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 1 for 1 is easy, it's a
Yeah,
swap,
that's easy.
but if there's not an existing pole there with a sign, or there should be an existing pole with a sign there, because a lot of things have been pulled out over time and never
Yeah.
replaced, then you have to go through the whole permitting side of that.
Here's a question. As a resident owner on any street in the city of Fort Myers, I believe that my corner needs some control. Isn't it at the full cost of the city to do the review and to render an opinion, rather than have us contract someone to do that? And
sorry,
then
a rent-
present it to the city?
Wait,
I don't,
who-
I don't,
Okay, what
I
I'm
don't
saying
follow.
is, if
Yeah, I
I,
don't
if I
either.
live on the corner of Avenue A and Avenue B,
Yeah.
and I think, gee, we really could use a different sign there, or whatever, I don't feel safe, and I approach my city,
if you lived on a city-maintained road, maybe.
and
But
then
this isn't a
it's,
city-maintained road, this is a gateway-maintained road. It's
Well, how about
it's a
gateway?
public road,
But in essence, that's what this resident is
Yeah.
doing. Is saying, I don't think this is safe. We want to put up signage to help people understand that this is a two-way circle or
Okay.
cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it. And because of the way we have these committees set up, in essence, they're coming to the
okay,
gateway. We're,
that's a very good clarification. Never mind,
that's okay. All questions are good.
worth a shot.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that the two options is to have an engineering study or done or whatever, and to get the proper process to put in the proper signage, or to appeal to the city to say, can we change this to a one-lane road? And I don't know if that's feasible or if that's not feasible.
The city will say that these are basically private streets. They're GSCD streets, so they won't really do anything, even though we have to have things approved by traffic engineering. But as far as the city doing anything, they won't.
So that they wouldn't authorize us to go ahead with,
Well, they would have to approve the permit and through the traffic engineering, but they wouldn't do the engineering study or spend the funds to do it because these are GSCDD.
We would have to spend the money on the GSCDD side to have an engineer do that for us.
so that would probably be more expensive than just the sign going the route of putting in signs.
Oh, yeah, signs are cheap. Well, relatively speaking. So how would you guys like to proceed?
I think it does require some further analysis. And, I mean, do we have any idea what kind of money we're talking? Just to get us to a position where it's been evaluated?
You're gonna have to give me the scope of what you want done, and I'll have to go to the engineers, district engineers. They'll give us basically a task authorization with the scoping of what they would cover and what they think the estimated pricing would be for them to do that work.
And
Then
if
I
you,
can bring it back to you, and you can say yes or no to go do said work.
and my suggestion would be that if you're going to go that route, to include both of the island areas and the golf cart crossing.
Well, do we have to do the golf cart crossing if we already had a sign there and the sign disappeared?
There's never been one.
I can tell you,
Oh, I
there
thought you
is-
said it was missing.
there is no golf cart sign that is in a MUCD Florida DOT standard. Those golf cart signs got put in before, by a golf course or anybody else. It won't be the district that puts in a golf cart sign.
Ed,
Golf
We
cart
have in the
crossing
past.
sign, are we talking the same thing? You don't put
No,
in golf cart?
no golf
crossing?
cart signs whatsoever will be installed by GSCDD,
Oh,
because it's not a
interesting.
MUCD standard.
Now I
That's
see
a
what you're saying.
community, that's a,
Okay,
that's,
I get
that's
it.
a community thing
Yeah, okay.
that allows golf carts on their roadways, not a public roadway
Understand.
edict from the county, the city, the GSCDD.
Well, they have been done in the past by PPAC.
So in other words.
Not all things
with-
have been done correctly.
With the golf cart crossing, there's, hands are tied, there's nothing that can be done, is that what we're saying?
The golf course could do something to that effect, but we wouldn't, because then we incur risk.
Okay. So we're gonna document the scope that would include two-way signs, two-way traffic signs at the circle. And then you're suggesting the other area there, the little crescent area, I don't know what you call that, but,
I mean, it's the same thing.
Little island, yeah.
Ed, I need to come look at that, what you're pointing to. I don't understand where the second.
right here, oh. We've talked about that one in this team before you guys got on. Oh, they did in the past. We didn't, we deferred it, as I recall.
Thank you.
We should get the engineer's recommendation on both of them.
Okay,
I mean, if you're, once you engage them, to look at both of them versus.
okay. Would somebody like to write up that scope? I've already taken action items out of today's meeting.
I will try, but I don't know if I'll get all the details right.
Well, write up a draft, bring it to the next meeting, and then we can augment it.
I believe that based on the fact that it's not going to be accurate, I know that I don't have enough detail in my head, that will waste a whole month. If we
Well,
wait till, you know.
I'll scope it.
We'll
I'm
scope
sorry.
it? Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, and I'll work with Tetra Tech, see if they can give me a costing for what the work would entail.
Okay, thank you. We do need to figure out how we can do some of this work between meetings, though, because
Yeah, it's,
some of this is, at one time I had asked if I could get a document put out on SharePoint and a note to go out to everyone to say, could you look at this and give me input? And I was told I couldn't do that, that that was a decision-making type thing. So what do other people do so that we can maybe do some of this type of work between meetings?
You can work on items together, you just can't interact with each other on SharePoint. So
Right.
taking a Word document, adding a comment and saying, hey, CC, what do you think about this? That violates Sunshine. For you to go in and just input into a document, there's nothing been decided, it's just a document. Until you come back later on, you can work in SharePoint, you just can't interact with each other in SharePoint, right? You can't game the system by writing something in Word or making a comment or something, so that
Okay,
there's being decisions made behind the scene. There's no issues with
okay, so,
working on a document and adding to it or taking away from it, as long as you're both not in the document at the same time doing collaborative work.
okay, so if somebody wrote a scope document and had a note sent out to everyone saying, the scope document's out there. Please put in any corrections you might have.
Everybody that sitting in this room has access to that SharePoint site, so whatever you drop in
Understand.
there, and it's known at this meeting, or Georgia puts out, they can go and access.
I understand, but I was told at one time I couldn't do something like that, so.
You
And
just
if it's
can't
just-
interact with each other
well-
inside said document.
Right.
Online.
Well, yeah, that's where I was going with it, so please update.
Yeah. If you're just putting into the document and scoping it, and then somebody comes back in and recrafts said scope, or somebody else comes back in and recrafts that scope, and it's not labeled as Jennifer did the edit on this, and then CC did that, and you leave it where it's just a document as a working document, things can be done. You just can't make any decisions inside of a document together or collaborate inside the document together.
Okay.
There's a line you can walk there, just
Yeah, we just need to make sure we understand that line, so that we can do some of this stuff between meetings, because otherwise, a lot of this stuff is gonna drag on longer than some of the stuff is dragged on.
I agree.
Okay.
You can drag and drop a document into your folder on that.
I have dragged and dropped folders in there, and
others can go in and view and make edits. It's just not a decision point. You know, you still got to bring that document back here to make a decision on it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay,
And then there's no comments inside there to say, hey, Jay, I need your input here, or
right.
as long as it's not worked out like you're gaming the system, as long as you go at it with a good heart.
Okay, well, that's an important point.
Are
Okay.
the comments, if a person goes into SharePoint, suggests a change of a sentence, nobody knows who did that?
Yeah, they do.
They do
It's
if you put it in
Track
markup
changes.
mode and track changes. So
Yeah.
you don't put it in a track changes markup mode. I mean, it'll still keep versions, so regardless, you can go back and change versions back. You won't know who made said comments.
Okay.
Well, that's nice because trying to read a document with track changes on it is kind of hard anyway.
So
Okay.
minimal collaborative, but
It's way up
Yeah.
here on me.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. All right, anything else?
I had one item
Yes,
that
sir.
Chelsea had asked me to just put out there for you all to know, be aware of. Weiser's trying to change the vehicle, instead of having a gas-powered vehicle, to an electric golf cart. Just throwing that out there to let everybody know that is a thing. I don't know many more details than that, other than she told me to let you guys know.
Okay, well, that was an option that we actually discussed, so,
So they're looking at
Okay.
that right now. I don't know if they've made a decision on it. And when I know more, I'll let everybody know.
okay. There are pros and cons to that. Anything else from anybody else?
Not I.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Oh, before we adjourn, I'm sorry. Next meeting,
Okay.
does anyone know whether they will not be at the next meeting, which is on January? My calendar here.
It's January 23rd, Thursday the 23rd at 11.
Yes, yes. And we do have the Pelican conference room for the rest of the fiscal year.
Okay.
We just don't have it today because we changed the date and
Yeah, that's fine.
we couldn't get the room today. Anybody know at this time that they will not be here?
I will be here.
Okay. Does anyone have any specific agenda items other than the ones we talked about today that they know at this time that they want to put on the agenda?
I'm from CC.
And FYI, if anybody wants to put an item on, you can just free to create an agenda request. Do you guys know the agenda request forms? It's probably out there somewhere. I have a copy on my SharePoint. Yeah, do you know where in SharePoint it is?
Template folder.
Okay, in the template folder on SharePoint, you just fill it out, send it into it's called agenda items at gatewaydistrict.org, I think it is. And it's on the form where to send it to. And you just fill it out and send it in. But if you had one now, it would be nice to just take it down. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? We are officially adjourned at, I don't know what time? 12:30. 12:30. Ah,